Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we need to go and take a look at something weird, which is happening over in Malaysia. You see, over in Malaysia, they have the Ultra Ball League. It is, well, they're described on the website as medium-scale events held in the region's main cities. You can look forward to earnest matches battling for an invite to the next higher-tier event. They're cool. What is really cool, and very surprising, is what we see as the participation prize for this next upcoming tournament. It's Iris's Fighting Spirit. And the reason why this is a weird participation prize, this is the first time we've seen this card in English. This card, as it stands at the moment, doesn't exist in English. It is a card which has obviously been released over in Japan. In Japan, it was in Battle Partners. So, you know, it's out there. This is our very first look at the English version of the card. And I'll show you the other participation prizes for previous events in a moment, and you'll see that actually, oh, hang on a second, they're previously released cards, that's fine. This is bizarre and a little bit weird, because I don't think this has happened before. Also, shout out to Bert Chin, who did send this my way. I had already seen it, but I love that Bert took the time to tag me in this, send it my way. Very kind of them. Always really appreciate it. Whenever any of you take time out of your day to send me something, whether I've seen it or not, doesn't matter. If you've taken time out of your day to send me something which is cool, I really appreciate you going to that effort. So shout out to anyone that takes time out of their day to do that. That is really, really kind of you. So, Iris's Fighting Spirit being first revealed in English as a promo like this. Now, it must actually be borne in mind that it's not exactly quite as cool as we might have imagined, because actually this tournament is happening on the 15th of March, and if you've been following this closely, you might realise that the 15th of March is actually the first day of Journey Together pre-releases. Journey Together comes out on Friday the 28th of March, which means the pre-release weekends are Saturday the 15th and Saturday the 22nd. So actually this won't be the first time we can get it in our hand, because it's going to be released in a whole bunch of places as a pre-release card. Well, it's a regular card, but at pre-releases at the same time. But this is the first time we've seen it in English, and that is a little bit weird. So, yeah. It's unusual that this is being revealed like this. No, this is not something we usually see, but I kind of dig it. And I'm honestly fine if they want to keep doing this and if they want to push it further. I have absolutely no issue with having a bunch of random unreleased cards just turning up as promos here, there, and everywhere. I think that's kind of fun. Although it does have a bit of a knock-on effect with card legality. So essentially, if we get cards actually early, we need to be really clear as to whether they are legal for tournament play, and that needs to be communicated very clearly. Otherwise, that will actually lead to some issues. So Iris's Fighting Spirit then, is it a good card? It's alright. You have to discard another card from your hand to use it, but you then draw until you've got 6 cards in your hand. So actually discarding a card here is a good thing, because you then have fewer cards in your hand, and then you draw 1 extra card. It's a draw up to rather than a straight draw or a shuffle draw, so that means if your hand gets clogged, it becomes terrible. Shouldn't be the biggest issue, but it is something we need to bear in mind. It's good for getting stuff into your discard. It's good for getting rid of a card you don't actually need and hopefully getting more cards you want. And certainly in decks where you're trying to empty out your hand, this does become a very nice card. I've seen it popping up in decks over in Japan already. That's a thing. And yeah, it's a nice draw supporter. This isn't some kind of absolute must-play 4 of staple in everything. It's not that good, but it absolutely is a good, viable card. It is a kind of supporter card which is going to see play in a bunch of decks. It is far from essential, and I am not pretending it is essential, but it is still a very cool card. And honestly, seeing it for the first time here, coming through as a promo for a tournament, honestly kind of awesome. So what did we have previously? Well, we had Chorus's Tenacity. Very cool card, but that's just from Shrouded Fable. Like, that's not a particularly new card. Like, it's new-ish, but it's not a hugely new card. They did not have the same, oh my goodness, how is that coming through malarkey? Nah, just a cool card. Chorus's Tenacity, of course, very nice card because it searches a stadium and an energy, and yes, it can be special. So, good special energy search and stadium search, which generally is difficult to pull off. But the problem is we do have the Kyurem, that if your opponent's got any card in their discard pile with Chorus in the name, they can do 110 to 3 of your Pokemon for a single colorless energy. So Chorus's Tenacity is one of those where really good, nice card, but potentially dropping yourself in it, because if your opponent's playing Kyurem, you just open them up to a basic Pokemon with a really good single colorless energy attack. Quite frankly, could not be much easier to use. You have been warned. The other one we had here was Professor Turo's Scenario, which is another, and they seem to be doing this, kind of fringe cards. Like, it's a good card, don't get me wrong. It is a card that has seen a bunch of play, but it's far from a staple. Puts one of your Pokemon into your hand, discarding all attached cards. Seen it in a bunch of decks. I've seen it pop up before. I'm sure we'll see it pop up again. But then by the same token, it's not an essential card by any stretch of the imagination. But you do get the cool Ultra Ball League stamp on it, which is lovely. Now, the prize card has actually been the same for all 3 seasons here. It's Mew EX. And we know that Mew EX is not a fringe card, right? Mew EX is a phenomenal card. Lets you draw until you've got 3 cards in your hand. So you need to go pretty low on hand size to make it work. But also, it's then an ability on a basic Pokemon that potentially draws 3 cards. That's amazing. You can then copy the attack of your opponent's active Pokemon, which again, super useful. Will help out in a whole bunch of matchups. And it's all for colorless energy, which massively increases the tech ability. And yeah, I love Mew. And this has got to be one of the rarest versions of Mew. Like, I know we've actually got 2 different special illustration rare versions. One from the 151 Ultra Premium Collection and one from Paldean Fates. And this is just the regular version with a stamp. But this is like the rarest version. Because how many people are going to get a good enough placement at this tournament? In fact, actually, there is a 3rd special illustration rare version of it. Because remember, we've got the exclusive version from the China 151 collection. So actually, we got 3 different special illustration rare versions of this. And, well, actually, the China one is very rare, but there's still like 1,500 of them. So I think this is still the rarest version. I don't have exact numbers, but it must be. Must be the rarest version of it. I'm going to let you decide if it's the coolest version. That is very much, take your pick. But in terms of the rarest version, yeah, I think this is the rarest version, probably actually by some bit of a margin. So if you want to show off and bling your deck, this might be the Mew for you. There is also a playmat which is available. Again, this is a top placement prize, not a participation prize. But I really love this because you've got Pikachu on there, which... Look, Pikachu, you could go either way. We do have the Pikachu from Surging Sparks, which is actually a good playable card. But I rather suspect Pikachu is actually on here just because it's Pikachu, right? Everyone loves Pikachu. Outside of that, we take a look at this, and it's just a bunch of really playable cards. Now, the Magneton is pushing things a little bit, but it's got that really nice ability that accelerates energy, so I think we can agree with that. We've got the Tatsugiri with the wonderfully named ability Attract Customers that gets your supporter card, which is a really good card that has seen a whole bunch of play. But then we've got things like Terapagos, which is just a top deck around right now and has been pretty much since its inception. I don't know, I've not always spoken highly enough of it, but Terapagos, even when it's not been winning everything, it's still been absolutely viable. We've got Noctowl, which, if you've got a Terra Pokemon in play, goes and searches your trainers. Noctowl is absolutely absurdly good. And then we've got Squawkabilly, which has been an absolute staple in a million different decks for its Squawk and Seize ability, letting you draw a whole bunch of cards. And then Pheasantipty, which is arguably the best card in the game right now for the Flip the Script ability, which lets you draw 3 cards if you had a Pokemon KO'd last turn. This is not some random collection of Pokemon sitting on a playmat. No. This is Pokemon handpicking a whole bunch of playable Pokemon, and then maybe adding Pikachu, and I think this is kind of awesome. But that's what you need to know. So now it's over to you guys. What do you think about the fact that Iris's Fighting Spirit has been revealed for the first time as a prize card over in Malaysia? Do you want to see more of this in the future? Have you played in these tournaments? Would you like to? Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shout outs on the channel like the lovely Fawny Horvath, who I believe is her first shout out on the channel, new patron, so shout out to them for being awesome and for the support and hopefully being a very lovely person. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.